Parallel lines and transversals, part D. All right, these two. All right, now that we've discussed parallel lines and the transversal line coming through and the relationships that were just in general created, now we need to start putting some defining vocabulary into that. Okay, there's three keywords I think that we're going to start with, and it talks about location on the diagram. Let's talk about I think the first two key ones, and that's when you look at these parallel lines and think of this space in here between those two lines, we're going to call that the interior, okay? Because it's inside of the two parallel lines, okay? Now, above and below that space, we're going to call this exterior. Okay, so think about it this way. Inside the house is the interior. Outside the house, we call that the exterior. Okay, interior and exterior. Now we've got this other line that comes through. It cuts through everything. It's a transversal. Okay, but it's going to create something called alternating angles. Okay, and angles will be alternating if they're on different sides of that line. Okay, interior, exterior, alternating means going back and forth across the transversal. All right. Okay, now that we've got all this set up, let's take a look at some of the relationships that we can talk about using interior, exterior, and alternating. Okay, let's start with interior alternating angles. Okay, so it's self-defining, really. It means we're going to be in here in the interior and we're going to look at alternating angles. So if I want alternating interior angles, I've got two sets of those, okay? I can look at it. Alternating mean opposite sides. Interior means it's in here. So it automatically says angle 3 and angle 6. And it's telling us that angle 3 and angle 6 are actually equal to one another. And if you think back to the video before, those were both 35-degree angles, okay? Now, it also tells us, okay, by alternating interior angles, that angle 4 and angle 5 are equal to one another, okay? And remember, again, on the previous video, we measured them out. Those are both 145 degrees. So, instead of measuring, you can go ahead and say, well, I know these two are the same because I know that I've got parallel lines, and I just kind of infused a little notation in there. Pay attention to that. Those notations mean you got parallel lines, okay? But I've got alternating interior angles. So let's look at alternating exterior angles. Okay, so again, we're saying alternating, meaning back and forth across the transversal. Okay, transversal is this line coming through, and it's only talking about angles on the outside. Okay, so in that case, I need alternating. So if I start here, all right, I need something that's going to be the same on the opposite side of the transversal. Well, if I look at angle 2, angle 7 is the other smallish angle that matches up. So alternating exterior angles angle 2 is going to be equal to angle 7. That also tells me angle 1 and angle 8 are going to be the same. Okay? So look, we've already paired up alternating interior and exterior angles. Okay? But that's not the only way that we can look at things. Some of you probably by now looked at, let's say, angle 1 and angle 4. Okay, I'm going to add these in here. Angle 1, I look at those. Wait a minute, those were colored the same. So I know that those are equal to one another. But when we have two angles that are across from one another like that, we call those vertical angles. Okay? And just like all the other stuff we've talked about, that's a way of us saying, hey, those two angles, those are the same measurement. Okay? Makes it pretty easy for us. So let's think about this. We got exterior, we got interior, we have alternating angles. Okay? And again, look at the names. They are self-defining. We have vertical angles, angles that are straight across from one another. Not only is 1 and 4 work, 2 and 3, 7 and 6, 5 and 8, okay? All kinds of pairs on there that we can come up with, okay? Now, in this, we can also look at, let's take angles 6 and angles 2. Wait a minute, those are the same too. See, lots of relationships. It's almost like looking at a family tree. Okay? Angle 6 and angle 2, okay? We call those corresponding angles. Okay? Angles that as we look at them, wait a minute, they're in the same position. They're facing the same direction. They've got the same place, okay? Because if you look how these angles, they kind of match up with those angles, okay? Actually, it's not kind of, they totally do, all right? There's one other thing I want to do, okay? I'm going to switch colors, and I know this is a little difficult for some of you guys, but that's okay. We'll review this more and more. Let's take a look. You guys probably remember this from the protractor half moon thing with all the numbers. Take a look. If I look at angles 7 and 8 right here, I know that this was 35 degrees, and I know this is 145 degrees. What happens when I add those two up? They create, excuse me, a straight line angle. Okay? Because this, a straight line going from this point all the way around to this point, is 180 degrees. Okay? A lot of stuff on here. All right? But you need to see how it builds upon itself. Okay? Now, we'll come back again. We'll do multiple videos about this. I encourage you, break it out part by part. All right? This is a big picture overview. But in this, interior, exterior, alternating, vertical, corresponding, straight angle, you need to be able to identify all of those, all right? And that's what we can reinforce in class.